This is Mick Burrows. The 46-year-old Melburnian has one of the biggest private retro gaming collections in Australia.
So this is my main gaming room. There's probably roughly about between 8,000 and 10,000 games. Down here is where me and my friends can actually play.
Mick has been collecting video games and consoles since he was a teenager in the 90s.
I used to go to markets, you'd pick up a Game Boy console for like $5, $10. The games are like, $1 each. That sort of prices, because no one wanted it. But now everybody's keeping their old stuff because eventually that goes up sometimes more than what the newer consoles that are coming out.
Collectors and investors have made some retro games and consoles extremely valuable. So, how did we get here? And why are some people so passionate about hoarding this obsolete technology? US-based collectibles consultant Sean Cermick says an underground scene for retro gaming first emerged in the late 1990s.
So this is where video game systems started getting into these predictable cycles, where every couple of years, new hardware would be released, and the old hardware would pretty much become obsolete. People got nostalgic and said, well, wait a minute, I still want to play these old games.
Jason Ashman opened Icarus Tech Games in Melbourne's northern suburbs about 6 months ago.
A lot of people come in just want to play the stuff they had as a kid with their kids, a lot of them. There are a few who are just like, I have 90% of this collection, I want to complete it, or I'm looking for a very specific thing.
Independent shops like his, specialising in retro video gaming, have been popping up all over Australia. Even major retailers have taken notice, with EB Games this year getting into the second-hand retro market. So, how much are these old games worth?
This is My Horse and Me 2, a game released in 2008. I have never played this before, and it's honestly much worse than I thought it would be.
How much did you say it was worth again?
About $160 to $200, which makes me sad. Bad games are generally pretty expensive because no one bought them when they were new. People trying to get them now for their collection are willing to pay a bit more because there's so little of them out there. Games like, Assassin's Creed, they're only a couple of dollars. They were very, very popular, so there's billions of copies out there. And other games go for over $1,000. We've had a game called Power Blade 2, which is a very, very good game for the NES, but because it came out very late in the life cycle, there were very few copies sold.
At the extreme high end of the market, some games sell for much, much more. In 2019, a pristine copy of Super Mario Bros. Sold for $100,000 US. 2 years later, another copy sold for $2 million. These sky-high prices raised eyebrows, and in 2022, 2 companies involved in the vintage games trade were accused of market manipulation. Ultimately, the allegations did not stand up in court.
And lo and behold, what happened after the COVID money dried up? What happened after everybody was able to go outside, the world didn't end? The price of a lot of this stuff came crashing down.
So what motivates hardcore collectors to hunt down these rare titles? Sam Crowther, from a town in regional Victoria, has a copy of every Nintendo Entertainment System and Game Boy game released for the Australian market.
It was really kind of the thrill of the chase of finding different variations and going about and cataloguing each of those variations. Going to a garage sale, or if I'm going out somewhere got adrenaline kind of pumping, if I see something that I'm like, holy crap, I've got to go buy that thing, the excitement and the endorphin rush is a very real response.
Scarlett Norman is one of those collectors who got into retro games during Melbourne's lockdowns. She started off buying the titles she remembered renting from Blockbuster.
There's something about collecting a new game and being able to put it on the shelf that brings me so much joy for some reason. I try and collect games that I want and that I know I will play, but sometimes you just end up with things because they're a good deal, or because they look weird, or they look different, or they look fun, essentially.
While the games of previous generations are enjoying a renaissance, the future of the hobby is uncertain. Physical games are becoming rarer as more and more game systems go online only. Gamers increasingly buy, or even just rent, the right to play games downloaded or streamed from the cloud.
I think download-only games are going to kill the retro industry, but it's also going to make people much more vigilant in wanting to have physical copies.
I love having a physical disc these days to hold, or a cartridge to hold in your hands and to look at the artwork of. When I get to sit down and I put a game in the console and I turn it on and my screen lights up. I think that's really exciting. It makes me feel like I'm a kid again.